Yeah, just full disclosure, and I think Coach K hates when I say this, but I fell in love with basketball. I remember where I was when I was captivated by the game, and at that point fell in love and was like, wow, like I want to do this, and dreamed about doing it like we all do as kids. And that was the 1982 Final Four. And my dad had recently retired from playing. We had our split level house in Reston, Virginia. We had a basement that was unfinished.
Mm-hmm.
And for much of my childhood, that was like a big playroom, toy.
Yeah.
We go downstairs and do whatever in the basement. And so my dad decided to get it finished and redone, and so drywall and carpeted and put a bar in there and put up all his trophies and game balls and things like that. But he also bought a big screen TV. This is like 1981, 82, and 1982.
Big fatback TV.
The big screen one where it had a projector and it had like it was old school. And the sad thing is my parents still have it, which is kind of I don't think it works, but they still have it. And we bought a Betamax, and so the first thing that we watched and recorded was the championship game, legendary, iconic finish, North Carolina versus Georgetown.
Yep.
And so Jordan hit that shot. It was just a great game. James Worthy made the steal down the stretch. And so then from that moment on, like I became fans of Georgetown and North Carolina.
Right.
And Michael Jackson, who played at my high school, the high school I later attended, he was scheduled to go to Georgetown that next year. Mm-hmm. And so we got season tickets. We went to Georgetown games. I followed North Carolina in the ACC. And then I started to see Duke emerge, Johnny Dawkins, who played in the Capital Classic in 1982 from DC, and he was the MVP in the Capital Classic. He went to Duke. And then the following year, Tommy Amaker played in the Capital Classic, and I knew of him in Northern Virginia. He went to Duke. And then you just sort of started to see this momentum. And then fast forward, I remember going to the Final Four. My dad and I would go. We went from 84 to 88. Mm-hmm. And we would go, and it was kind of like a father-son trip. And in 86, Duke is there with Johnny Dawkins, Tommy Amaker, Jay Billis, Mark Allery, David Henderson. And like I found myself rooting for Duke, and didn't really know much about them, but I liked the way they played, and obviously felt a connection to Johnny and Tommy just from them being from around the way and being from TV. And then from that moment on, just continued to follow. So fast forward to 1988, 89. I made my first official visit to Duke, and had a great visit, and wanted to commit like right away. Mm-hmm. And I remember I came home and I told my parents, I'm ready to commit. Now, I had Dean Smith scheduled to come to the house on Wednesday.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And so my parents suggested, because they knew I'd been a Carolina fan. Mm-hmm. And they said, you just had a great trip, get further removed from it, maybe have Coach Smith come in, see if you still feel that way. Mm-hmm. I was also scheduled to go to Michigan the following weekend, which just so happened to be the weekend where Rocket Ismail, you're probably too young to remember this, but Rocket Ismail had this legendary game from Notre Dame at Michigan, where Notre Dame beat Michigan. It was an incredible game. So I'm scheduled to do that the following weekend, go up, visit Michigan, be on the sidelines for this Notre Dame Michigan football game. And so Dean Smith, Coach Smith comes to the house, and great visit, great conversation. It was good. I mean, I didn't think it was bad, but the next morning I woke up and I still wanted to go to Duke.
Yeah.
And so my dad was like, well, can you wait till after this weekend? Because I'm
Yeah, you want to go to the game.
you want to go to the football game. And so I committed that. I called Coach K that I remember Thursday morning and told him, and then I called the other coaches to let them know that I wasn't attending. And I think my dad was like mad at me for a week. Because he wasn't mad I chose Duke. He just like, could you
just
wait?
wanted to go to the game. Yeah.
And so, but now obviously my mom and dad have grown to love Duke and all that it stands for.
Yeah, absolutely. So you come in as a freshman. They're coming off 3 straight Final Fours, I think. No title.
Yeah.
88, 89, 90. So I mean, what were your expectations going in as a freshman?
Well, that team in 90 had lost in the finals to UNLV.
Mm-hmm.
It was 25, 30 points. It was a blowout. And that team had 3 seniors who started on that team: Ala Abdenabi, Phil Henderson, who I alluded to earlier, and Robert Brickey. Bobby Hurley was a freshman. Christian was a sophomore. But that team returning had a lot of new faces. We had 5 freshmen in our class, but also players who had been, sort of role players, complementary players. So, I think for me, there was a lot of uncertainty, like what this team would be, what it could be.
Yeah.
I do know, and I don't know if Coach K did this, when you were there, but I know our first meeting, and we didn't have summer school. And I know now teams, players tend to come in early and get acclimated.
Mm-hmm.
I showed up, freshman orientation, like that was moving in. And when the upperclassmen and the entire school opened up, we had our first meeting. And I still remember it like it was yesterday. And Coach K goes to the board and he puts on the board 1991 national champions. And I'm thinking, does he not know that UNLV
still a thing?
they just beat us, and they have everybody back.
Yeah,
they have like Larry Johnson, Stacey Augman, Greg Anthony, Anderson. Like, all these guys are back, and I'm looking around the locker room, and I'm like, I don't know if I believe it. Like, I don't know if I see it. Is he in the right frame of mind here? Like, I didn't see it in that moment, but I think it spoke. I think it spoke to his greatness, his vision, and what he believed we could ultimately be, and planting that seed early. And we took some lumps that season. We had a tough out of conference schedule, early and throughout the entire year. But we got better. We got better as the year went on, and obviously ultimately got on a nice run at the end. And fortunate to beat Vegas. But I think early, just for me, it was like coming in and trying to prove yourself and establish yourself. And I think one of the things that I had going for me was that at my size, at my height, at 6'8", I could really handle the basketball. I like to think there were other things, but I think that was one of the things at the time. You didn't have a lot of guys at 6'8", who could handle.
Right.
And so that I played point guard my senior year in high school. And so being able to show that and come in and kind of differentiate yourself early in those pickup games after I recovered from that first.
After the first one.
As a freshman, you're trying to prove yourself.
For sure.
Prove yourself to everyone on the team. And so that was, early on what I was trying to do, and play, ultimately when practice started, prove myself, to my coaches and to myself, like I think that's another thing. We all have that doubt. And, one of my challenges was one of my challenges at that point was not realizing how good I was. And at times maybe being my own, toughest critic.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think, coach, challenged me, but encouraged me to be good, to be
Yeah.
great, and almost like we need that from you in order for us to have success. And so I needed to be pushed a little bit into accepting that and embracing it.
Yeah.